All right. Hello and good afternoon, New Hampshire. Hope everyone is having a great summer. The season is going by so fast, especially now kids are going back to school in our area. We're in the San Francisco Bay Area. And as you see, like a lot of stores already selling fall items. So we're gearing up for the holidays. And I hope everyone was able to use their Uber Eats and enjoy lunch while watching this. We're going to start in about a minute or so for more people to join. And if you didn't get to use your Uber Eats code, it should be still good to use until Friday afternoon. And let me know in the Q&A box what you ordered. And right now it's only 9 a.m. in California, but I am planning to get some tacos, fish tacos. Okay, let's see what people got. Okay, someone got a burrito. I'm seeing Cobb salad, a shrimp Louis salad. That's my favorite. Crab melt. We are doing the East Coast today, New Hampshire. I'm pretty sure you guys have some great seafood. And a patty melt and sushi. One of my top favorites too. Someone got ramen. All right, great. So we will get started. Before we begin the presentation, just wanted to do a little housekeeping. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put into the Q&A box. I may not answer them as soon as they pop up, but should get back to you as soon as possible. And we're also going to send a follow-up email with the HRCI and Shroom credits after the presentation, along with the attachments of the slides of the show. And then please let me know if you do want further information. Feel free to respond to that follow-up email. And then we are also going to share a recording of this. It'll be sent separately in a few hours through Zoom. All right, so let's see. So today we're going to talk about New Hampshire nonprofits and unemployment. Before I get started, just wanted to do a quick intro of myself. My name is Janessa Ponko. I'm the Senior Member Development Representative here at 501c Services. I've been in sales since 2016. I was selling vendor booth space at a wedding fair for about 3.5 years. Then during the pandemic, I was scheduling meetings for tech startups. And then I started at 501c Services in July 2023. Currently, I've been setting up meetings with nonprofits across America. And then there's the image of people bowling. It includes me and some of our sales and marketing team members. Heidi is in the middle. She's my manager. You may work with her in the future. And Evan is on the right. He does our marketing and web development. And I'm really excited to be part of a team that's been helping nonprofits save time and money that can go towards furthering their mission. We're based in San Jose, California, so we're in the heart of the Silicon Valley. We're dedicated to helping nonprofits reduce unemployment expenses across the nation. And thank you again for joining to learn more about cost-effective strategies and managing unemployment in your state. So we're going to provide a broad overview on how unemployment insurance works, alternatives for 501c3 nonprofits when it comes to unemployment. We're going to show you how reimbursing works. We're also going to use some examples of nonprofits we worked with in the past that had our cost analysis. And then we're going to provide more information on our company, 501c Services, and how many of our New Hampshire nonprofits have benefited from our services. So first of all, just wanted to start off with a little history to put unemployment in perspective. Unemployment started in the US in the 1930s following the Great Depression and New Deal, where the federal government wanted to create a safety net for workers who lost their jobs through no fault of their own. So between the 1930s to 1972, 501c3 nonprofits, they didn't pay into these benefits for separate employees. Although this saved them money from paying these taxes, employees that were laid off couldn't reap the benefits of that safety net that for-profit companies provided. Now, fast forward to 1972, the federal government changed the law under the Social Security Act to where nonprofits, they must pay into unemployment, but they were provided different options in how they pay. So the tax wouldn't be seen as an unnecessary expense for them. Unemployment is overseen on the federal level. However, each state gets to manage their programs however they choose. So throughout the US, you'll see different taxable wage bases, tax rates, benefit amounts, but we're just going to cover information here in the state of New Hampshire. When it comes to management, unemployment rates can be adjusted annually and are adjusted by experience. So for instance, if you ever have like a year or two of bad claims, your tax rate will increase. And most states, including New Hampshire, they run as a risk pool. So what you're putting into that pool doesn't necessarily equate to what you'll get out of it. And we are seeing a lot of nonprofits putting more money into that tax pool than what they're actually getting in return. And then these total tax liabilities by employers, they're often greater than the claims paid with reserves used in times of recession. And then the tax liability, in order to calculate that, you multiply your taxable wage base by your employer tax rate. So take a guess on what a single claim can cost in New Hampshire. Feel free to put some guesses in the Q&A box. Let's see what we have. So I'm seeing 7,000. 9,900, 10,135. I'm seeing 13,000, 15,000. So just as a hint, the total cost is looking at the weekly benefit maximum times the maximum number of weeks someone can claim. And so the maximum number of weeks in the state of New Hampshire is 26 weeks. All right, we have a couple more guesses. There's 6,700, 8,135, 4,000. So the maximum amount of what a single claim can cost in unemployment for the state of New Hampshire is $11,102. And just as a caveat, this is what an employer is charged by employee benefits by the state. So those extended benefits you saw during the recession and extra COVID payments, they were actually covered by the federal government. So the maximum weekly benefit amount in the state of New Hampshire is $427. When you multiply that amount by 26 weeks, you get that $11,102 for the maximum of what a single person can claim on unemployment. And then the federal government sets the taxable wage base at a minimum of $7,000, and there's no maximum, so it can increase or decrease at any time. And then New Hampshire's taxable wage base, it's currently set at $14,000. So that means for the first $14,000 an employee earns, your organization is taxed on that amount. And then the minimum tax rate in the state is 0.1%. The maximum tax rate is at 7.5%. And those are both set by the state. And then the last thing I want to note from the last slide is the improper payment rate, which is at 9.6%. This overpayment equates to around over $9 million to former employees who are collecting unemployment from the past 3 years. And this is information that we get from the Department of Labor. You can see New Hampshire is one of the many states that's less than 10%. This is important to note as we really encourage you to look over your claims and make sure you're not overpaying for anybody's claims. And here at 501c Services, we help organizations monitor overpayments. And if you are managing on your own, you want to make sure that you're properly charged for a former employee's weekly benefit amount. So there are 3 different alternatives for unemployment. One is that you pay the state tax, like we mentioned earlier. That includes the tax rate set by the state and taxable wages. Another option is that you can self-insure or reimburse for your unemployment, where you just pay dollar per dollar for your unemployment claims. So basically, you're only paying for the benefits issued. And then the last option is kind of a hybrid of both, where you buy insurance, it offers the savings of reimbursing while also providing that safety net. So just to let you know, reimbursing is not for everyone. The qualifications we look at for considering reimbursing is that a organization must be a 501c3 nonprofit. It excludes religious institutions. And we recommend a gross annual payroll of $1 million or more, because typically if your payroll is under a million, especially significantly less than that number, what you're putting into the state tax pool is probably pretty minimal. And then you might not see much savings by opting out. However, there are some scenarios where reimbursing could work and you could see potential savings. So we would still be happy to do a cost analysis with you, even if you're just under $1 million. And then we also look at a positive audit of the past 3 years. So that means in order for reimbursing to really benefit you, we try to evaluate if what you paid each year in taxes exceeds what you pay in actual claims. We also want to make sure that there isn't any major disruption in funding for the next 24 months. So we do recommend to stay with the state tax system if you have anything coming up from layoffs, reduction in workforce, losing funds, or closing programs where your tax rates could go up with experience. And then you'll probably want to wait once those claims decrease. So what it means to reimburse is that your tax rate turns to 0% and the state will bill you only for the unemployment claims that you receive over the quarter. It's a great way for nonprofits to save money and be a better steward of donor dollars. And then the process is seamless for separate employees. No matter how you separate them or how they're separated, they are going to go through the same process in your unemployment department, where the state will determine their benefit amount based on their base period pay. The only change is how that quarterly bill is calculated. So instead of paying that state unemployment insurance tax, you're now only responsible for the charges that your organization incurs. So we work with over 1,500 nonprofits across the nation. We have several in New Hampshire. So you're probably wondering what motivates them to reimburse. In most cases, reimbursing saves money. Savings on average can be anywhere from 20 to 40% compared to paying into the state tax system. And this is really the driver for most organizations to switch. And then reimbursing also eliminates any concern of changes in the state tax, such as those tax hikes you can't control. And then you also become a better steward of donor dollars as you just pay for your actual claims then into the state pool. Because unemployment is managed by the federal government, big picture, reimbursing is allowed in all 50 states, best with employers with over $1 million in payroll and at least 15 or more full-time employees. If you're on the borderline, we can still talk, as there may be circumstances where you can still consider reimbursing for your organization. And if you are smaller or reimbursing already, we can also still consider you for our services and also show you how we can help you reduce your risk. So I do want to talk about how SUI is calculated. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to show some real cost assessments we've done in the past. So the taxable wage base is customized by each state. So for New Hampshire, it's currently set at $14,000. All employers in the state pay the same taxable wage base, and it represents the first $14,000 of an employee's annual earnings. And then it can increase or decrease in any amount each year. And then for the tax rate, it's set annually by the state based on experience. And in order to calculate the contribution amount in your state, you multiply that taxable wage base by the tax rate. So for New Hampshire, it's that $14,000 times the range of 0.1% to 7.5%. This means that if each employee makes over $14,000, an organization is paying in between $14 to $1,050 per employee in unemployment. And so what we do to get started on an assessment is that we look at your tax determination form. That includes most of the information we need for an analysis. So this form includes the contribution rate that's highlighted at the bottom. For this example, it's at 2%. And then it also provides the past 3 years of benefit charges and taxable wages. In this example, the estimated annual claims, so it looks like we used a 3-year average. And so the claims were over $32,000 and the estimated unemployment taxes were over $76,000. So they were overpaying $44,000. Based on these numbers, we did recommend the organization to consider reimbursing. And if you are interested, our team would be happy to view your numbers to see where you may potentially save. And then our next 2 slides will also show nonprofits we work with that also had significant overpayments, and then they eventually became reimbursers with our trust. So in this first example of a human services nonprofit we work with, the taxable payroll was just shy of $1 million. Tax rate was 4.7%. Estimated annual claims, almost $200. And then we also looked at a 3-year average of claims. And then we saw that the taxes were about $45,000. So overall, they were overpaying over $45,000. And then think of what you could do with an additional $45,000. So for our second example, the taxable payroll was over $700,000, tax rate 3.38%, estimated annual claims $5,900, estimated unemployment taxes were almost $24,000. So they were overpaying around $18,000. All right, so we're getting into a little bit more about our company, 501c Services. So we were founded in 1982, over 40 years ago, by a former UCP executive, John Hugstad. He was looking for ways to save money for his organization, so he started the first kind of grantor trust called the Joint Unemployment Compensation Trust. It eventually became 501c Services, also 501c Agencies Trust. We started at about 25 members here in San Jose, and we've now grown to helping over 3,000 nonprofits across the nation in various ways. And then in 2016, John sold the company back to his employees. So we're now 100% employee owned. From the receptionist to our CEO, every member is committed to our company and serving our members. And then our services are valued tremendously, with our company having over a 98% retention rate. And then these are testimonials our members have shared. So you can also go back to these later, as I'll attach the slides after the presentation. And then this is a clip from our 40th anniversary celebration a few years ago. It includes testimonials from Anika Lunn and Mike Hoffman from Start Early, Mary Sue and Michael Eady from CISC, Sandy Leota and Chris Marshall from Baltimore Center Stage, and then Phyllis Austin and Jason Penniger from Boys and Girls Club of America.
What makes me passionate about working for a non-for-profit organization is because I knew I always wanted to work for a mission-driven organization.
Our mission is to work with immigrant communities so that they can achieve the American dream.
501 helps focus our service to the community by giving us more time.
501 helps us focus on serving our communities by providing services directly to our HR professionals.
The biggest benefit for working with 501 is really the transparency and ability to forecast our costs when it comes to our unemployment benefits.
They also keep our cash flow steady through claims that are sound and take a lot of the admin burden off of us so we can just stay on autopilot.
We're very grateful for all the support you provided over the last 4 decades, and we wish you continued success in the future.
Congratulations, 501, on your 40th anniversary. It's been a pleasure serving with you for the last 24 years.
All right, and like I said earlier, we work with several New Hampshire nonprofits, and here's a quick snapshot of a few nonprofits here in the state and also across the nation that are members with us. And just as you heard in the clip, we help nonprofits relieve the administrative burdens that can come with unemployment. The first way we help nonprofits is through claims management. Our team will help you manage, audit, and protest claims. So if you ever have to protest a claim, we offer access to hearing reps, and our team has an 80% average protest win rate. And then once you become a member of our trust, you'll have a dedicated claims manager, and all your claims will go through this online portal. It's called Shield, where you'll be notified when a claim has been filed. So you'll go into the online portal and respond to the questions when you get a claim. And then if you ever go on PTO and forget to delegate these kinds of tasks, it shouldn't be a problem for when a claim isn't responded to in several days. It gets escalated and handled. And a big part of our claims management is that our team doesn't want to see your organization overpay or get hit by those error rates. So we can audit those charges for you or prevent you for paying a claim when someone gets terminated. And then we want to make sure that you're managing these claims and also have enough support to do so. And for our HR services, it includes 3 components. We offer unlimited access to HR consultations. We're a small dedicated team that can answer any of your HR related questions. And if you ever have like an ongoing issue, you can develop rapport with the person who can support you and manage any of your HR questions. We also have trainings throughout the year that are HRCI and SHRM certified. And there's also an online knowledge library with our HR services. And then with the $427 maximum monthly benefits here in New Hampshire, our goal is to help you keep that cost as low as possible. So if you ever have to lay someone off, we have this reemployment tool. It has packages that can range from online coaching, resume writing, and like any interview techniques. And by using this tool, we've seen that former employees on average have gotten a job 4 weeks faster. It's never fun to let someone go, but at least you can give them the safety net and resources to help them secure a new job faster. And in return, that can help your organization save more money. We also have the protection part of our program. So that's like our insurance. Most of our members take our stop loss protection to help our members during catastrophic claims. And then other than catastrophic claims, for managing the highs and lows of unemployment claims, we have the trust account. So this is a reserved account owned by your organization where you can put money into a trust to help you save for those unexpected number of claims that could happen. So I hope this sparked your interest. Maybe some of you may want to manage your unemployment through us as a reimbursing employer. If you want to look into potential savings, what I would need from you is your 941s or estimated payroll from 2024 to 2025 as a reimburser. But if you are still paying into the state tax system, we would just need your 2025 tax rate notice. And I will stay on for another minute or so for any questions. It looks like there isn't any questions so far in the Q&A box. However, if you are typing, you can also save that question for the follow-up email I'll be sending in a few hours. So that follow-up email will include the HRCI and SHRM credits, attachments of the slides, and then a recording of the presentation will be sent separately through Zoom. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and I look forward to speaking with some of you soon. You will get a follow-up email shortly in a few hours. And then if you do have any questions, my contact information will be right here, and it'll also be shared in the presentation or in the follow-up email. So thank you again, everyone, and hopefully you guys have a great day and rest of your week.